Alright, well, good morning everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on Windows 8 Introduction. I'm Christine Hallam and I'm the Events and Membership Coordinator. I hope you haven't got bored of hearing me if you've been attending our webinars regularly. But unfortunately, I'm the only one that facilitates these things. With me today, I have Ben Teoh, the Content and Community Coordinator at Connecting Up, who will be taking you through a few bits and pieces about Windows 8 and also the demo on the user interface. And Ben himself has been using Windows 8 for quite a while now, so he'll be showing you how to approach it from the user perspective and the benefits and a lot of interesting features that you can look at. If you have any questions, as usual, please type them in the question box and we will address them as we go along. We don't have too big of a group today, so compared to usual, so it should be alright with hopefully answering as many questions as we can. So we have a whole hour. Please ask as many things as you would like to know about Windows 8 or about the donations program for Windows 8. I will try our best to help you out there. Alright, well, I'll stop talking now. We're also recording the session as usual, so you'll get a link to the recording afterwards. So I will pass it on to Ben.
Great, thanks, Christine. Yeah, today we're going to look at Windows 8. I've been using it for a little while at work, so I have a Dell laptop at work, and that's connected to a couple of screens. So I use it very much as in a desktop environment, but also when I'm out and about, I use it on the go. I've also got this synchronized up to my home computer as well, and I've also had the privilege of playing with a couple of touch devices that use Windows 8. So I've been using it for a while, and I have to say I'm actually enjoying it. And I know that there are a few concerns around how to, I guess, move from, say, Windows 7 or Windows XP even up to Windows 8 and just getting an understanding of the new user interface and how it all works. So hopefully today you'll walk away from the webinar with a bit more information about Windows 8 and a better understanding of how it all works. So one of the things that we want to look at today, if my slides work, here we go. So we'll have a look at some of the key benefits that everyone will see when they install Windows 8. Just a few things to double check before you upgrade if you want to, and we'll look at some of the new things and also field some Q&A as well at the end. We'll also look at briefly the donations program, which allows eligible not-for-profits to access Windows 8 licenses that Microsoft donate to the sector through Connecting Up. So, some of the key benefits for Windows 8. They've actually made it quite zippy when it comes to booting up the operating system. So you get to the login screen a lot faster than previous versions of Windows. And reports online show that that this is the case for older machines as well. So even if your machine is a few years old and you install Windows 8, you'll actually notice a bit of a speed improvement rather than cases in the past where new operating systems have needed more resources. So that's a real benefit for anyone who is finding that the computer's taking too long to boot up and they just want to get started with working. Another great feature is that they have pre-installed their security software that's packaged with Windows 8. Microsoft have been running free anti-virus and anti-malware software for a while now, but in previous versions of Windows you had to go to the Microsoft website and install that yourself, but now they're rolling that in with Windows 8 itself. That doesn't mean that you can't use your other software as well. If you have other antivirus software, or if you're working for a larger organization, you may have a more centralized software security solution. You can switch off Microsoft's pre-installed software and install your own. That's not a problem at all. Another great feature that I use quite a lot when I'm working at work and from home is the ability to synchronize your Windows 8 experience. And I'll have a look at that later on when we look at the user settings. Okay, and also Microsoft are really pushing for the cloud in this latest version of Windows. Also in the latest version of Microsoft Office as well, if you're thinking about upgrading to that, there is a heavier focus on cloud computing and also synchronizing across their cloud storage solution, which is SkyDrive, but also using a Microsoft account to make sure that your settings and your experience is similar across the different computers that you may be using. So let's jump ahead, and a few things that you need to make sure of before you upgrade, and this is the same for any upgrade that you may have, whether you're moving from, say, Windows XP to Windows 7 or upgrading to Windows 8. You want to make sure that first your hardware is compatible. Now, Windows 8 does come with a lot of drivers already packaged into it. So previously with upgrades you would have to go to all the different websites for your different pieces of hardware and make sure that you downloaded individual drivers. Windows 8 has a lot of those already built into the operating system, which is a great benefit. However, there may be cases where you still just need to double check and make sure that that your hardware is supported by Windows 8. In my experience, the laptop that I was using, Dell didn't have the Windows 8 drivers out when I installed it, so I had to use some more generic drivers. It wasn't a massive issue. It was mainly things like very custom video cards, for example, that they use their own drivers for, while Microsoft had their own generic drivers that could run that video card. I wanted something that was specific for that, so I had to go hunt that down myself. It didn't mean that my computer didn't work. It just meant that it wasn't optimized. The other part of this is also your software. So make sure that if you're using software that may have been custom designed for your organization, that it's compatible with Windows 8. Most programs you'll find Windows 8 will be fine with. So if you're using, say, older versions, say Office 2010, for example, that's compatible with Windows 8. Your browsers, so most of us spend a lot of time in our browsers, whether that's Internet Explorer or Chrome or Firefox. Those are all compatible with Windows 8. But if you're not sure about the software and your hardware, Microsoft does have a tool that you can go and download, and that'll check your computer for compatibility issues, and it's quite robust actually. It works really well, and it will identify what you may need to upgrade, what they don't have compatibility directly for, and that will help you with your decision about when you want to upgrade or if you want to upgrade to Windows 8. Maybe I'll just pause there quickly before we start jumping into the user interface and see if there are any questions first.
There's just one question at the moment. Is Office 7 compatible? Not quite sure. Yeah.
Office 2007. I'm pretty sure it is. I'll have to double check that one for you. Office 2010 definitely, and the latest version of Office, yes, it is. Office, 2003 I think was the one before Office 2010. I'll have to double check that one for you.
Is MyOb compatible?
That one you would have to double check with MyOb. I don't use MyOb myself, but yeah, you'll have to check that on either my website or that upgrade tool that Windows has, Microsoft has, may better help you. Sorry. Okay, so we might keep moving along. Alright, so the next big thing is, these are the questions that we get quite often or that we see online. Where's the start menu? as many of you may have known, if you've looked into Windows 8, the little start button is no longer there, but that's for a good reason. Where's the control panel and utilities? So where are my regular apps? And how does the whole thing work? So what I'm going to do now is actually just close this PowerPoint down, and I'm going to take you through the version of Windows. Hold on a second. Oh, actually, before we do that, I just remembered I was going to do a poll. It'd be great if we could find out who is interested in this from a touch experience and who is interested in this from a desktop experience, because they are slightly different. And so we can also talk a little bit about tablets later on as well if people are interested in that. So the poll should be up, and it'd be great to see your results.
Most people have voted. We'll just wait for a few more seconds to complete it, and then I will share the results. Okay, I think pretty much. Alright, I will close the poll now and I will share the results with you. So there you go. The majority is using it for desktop, PC or laptop. Quite a couple would like to use it for both. And yeah, just a very small amount just to use it on touchscreen.
Great, no worries. Okay, so we'll look at this mainly from a desktop or a laptop experience. And when I say that, I really mean from a keyboard and mouse experience. So, alright, let's just jump out of here. Okay. So, when you first fire up your computer and you log in, this is what you'll be presented with. You can see at the top left it says Start. So this is actually the new Start menu. So previously the Start menu was a button in the bottom left-hand corner. You click that and it'd pop up off to the side and you'd have your icons in it. Now the Start menu is a full screen experience. Plus the icons are now what we call tiles, and these are the icons that you click to enter into your apps. So just quickly, if you're worried about transitioning from, say, Windows 7 to Windows 8, all you would need to do is just pick one of these apps, and just like you would in a regular start menu, for example, if I wanted to use Word, I've just scrolled over here to Word. And that's all. I'll just close that, and straight away I'm into Word. And you can see here when I've opened up Word, all the icons down the bottom here in the bottom left-hand corner is very similar to the desktop experience. So Word is what we call a desktop app, and this brings up just a familiar desktop. So it looks very much like Windows 7 now. So if I wanted to get back to the Start menu, as you can see there's no Start button, but if I bring my mouse just down to the bottom left-hand corner where the Start button would be normally, a little box pops up as the Start button, and I'm back at the Start menu. Okay, so just a quick run through the Start menu. It scrolls horizontally now instead of vertically, and all of these apps here are what we call pinned to the Start menu. So these are the apps that you want to see straight away. There may be some other apps that you've installed or other pieces of software that you've installed. If you want to get to those, you just do a right click. So I'm just doing a right click now. See, when I've done a right click, that little green bar has popped up down the bottom, and I just go to all apps, and these are all the apps that I have installed. And in here you can see, as I go across, that you have access to your file explorer, your control panel, computer. So this is all very similar to the older style Start menu. It's just in a in a full screen layout now rather than just a menu that pops up to the side. So I could pick any app I wanted here. Okay. Another option as well, I'm just going to press escape to get back to the desktop. Or get back to the last app that I had open, which was the desktop. If you wanted to get to the control panel or to any other system utilities, there are a whole bunch of shortcuts that you can use in Windows 8 now. And I'm just going to press the Windows key and the X key at the same time, and you can see another menu's popped up here, and I can access all these settings that were often that were commonly used for system utilities. So that's just for people who are super keen to get into their control panel or get into the system settings or anything like that. If you just want to get straight to the desktop from the start menu, you can just click the desktop button. That's the desktop button just displays the image from your desktop. So I can click that. Okay, so again, from a day-to-day experience, if you want, as soon as you start your computer up, you log in, this is what you're presented with. If you just want to get straight to your desktop and get into your old applications and get that old Windows 7 experience, you just click desktop and you're in there. And here you've got access to any apps that you've pinned to your taskbar, and also you can just go to the bottom left-hand corner to access the start menu. So it's really simple. That's as much as you need to know to get back into a familiar feel if you're on the desktop or on a laptop. Again, the old Windows D shortcut takes you to the desktop as well. So I've just hit the Windows key and D at the same time, and that's taken me to the desktop. Okay, so now what I want to show you, so maybe I'll just actually pause there and see if there's any questions about that experience. Okay. No, that's all right. Okay, so now that we've seen how we can use it from, I guess, a transitioning point of view, if we're transitioning from Windows 7 to Windows 8, you know how to get to the desktop now, you know how to get to your old apps and get that feel. I want to take you through the new user interface, and this is what Microsoft calls the modern user interface, or some people might call it the Metro user interface or UI. A user interface is just the way that you use the screen. So it's the apps, it's this display here that you where you click and interact with the operating system. Okay, so now that we're back in the Start menu, you can see that a lot of these tiles are updating and they're animated, and we're getting information about what's going on from the tiles themselves. The great thing about this is that you can get a snapshot of the activity that you're connected to through your apps really quickly just from your Start menu. So in the bottom left here, I've got my Twitter app ticking along, and it's showing me some of my latest tweets or people interacting with me. I've got a calendar here which shows me information from my calendar app, and so if I was to click this calendar app, it would bring up my calendar. Okay, I'm just going back to the Start menu. Again, with Skype and people here, these are all different types of apps. Now, these apps are different to your traditional desktop apps. So remember when I opened up Word, it took me to the desktop, so it took me to the place where we've got that old look and feel of Windows. These are called desktop apps, and you might use, say, some of the Adobe programs. You may use, I don't know if you want to use Spotify or any other music apps. Those will be called desktop apps. The new modern UI apps are a little bit different. And we'll jump into those in a second. I just want to show you a little bit more about the Start menu. With these, you can grab them and drag them around. And so if you want to organize your apps, say you have ones that you want to use straight away and use quite regularly, you maybe want to put them at the start. So maybe I want to move this Bing app, and let's say most days I come in to work and I want to do a search straight away. I can do that here from Bing. You can also make these smaller, or you can make them larger. You can also turn off this animation. If this is, if you don't want it to be animated, you can turn that live tile off. So I'll just turn that Skype tile off. And you can also unpin these from the start menu. So let's say you don't need to know what's going on with, say, Evernote. You don't need access to that straight away. You can unpin that, make room for something else. Let's say I wanted to put a reader in here. Now, if I wanted to get back to that Evernote app, I would just do that right-click on the start menu, which would bring up this green bar, and click All Apps, and then Evernote's still there under All Apps. And I can put that back in the start menu if I wanted to. If you're using this from a touch experience, instead of right-clicking, what you would do is actually swipe up with your finger from the bottom of the screen. It's the touch experience on Windows 8 is really quite intuitive in terms of how you bring up menus. It's quite clever. But in terms of simulating that with a mouse and keyboard, most of the time it's a right click or just moving into one of these corners. You can also zoom out. So I'm going to come down to the bottom right here and zoom out. So if you've got lots and lots of apps and you want to just quickly get to them, you can do that. You can also move groups of apps around, just like this. You can also right-click again, and you can rename this. So I can go useful apps. And then I've named that group. You can see I've also named desktop apps and entertainment apps over here. I can click on any of these and bring them up. So you can see already that the start menu is actually a lot more I guess useful in the sense that you can access more information. It's more flexible than it has been in the past, and also gives you an insight into how the other apps work. Okay, there may be a question here. Hold on.
First question, how do you download the apps?
Great question. All right, so all of these new apps are available through the Microsoft Store, which is this app here. All right, so this app, the Microsoft Store app, is already installed when you fire up Windows 8. So we'll click on here, and I've done a search already. So I was in this app before, but I'll just take you back to the home. So there are a lot of free apps, and a lot of apps as well were only a couple of dollars. So you can scroll through these. And just another note that what I'm doing here is scrolling with my mouse wheel up and down, but it's actually moving the screen like left and right. It takes a little bit to get used to that, but it works out to be quite intuitive once you get used to it. You can install any of these apps for free, so I can go iStorybooks. So this is very similar to other app stores that you might be used to, whether that's on Android or Apple devices. You can write reviews and all that sort of thing. I can also, while I'm here, I'll show you this. I'll right-click, and it's brought up this other menu here. I can click Your Apps, and I can show you that this is connected to my Microsoft account, and it will show me all the apps that I've installed across various devices, and some aren't installed on this PC, and it will show me those, and I can install any of those that I want to. So it's quite handy. All right, I'm just back at the start menu. Was there any other questions for that one, Christine?
Just to clarify with those apps, so they are applicable for both desktop and tablets then, because it's all in the same store?
Correct. Yeah, these apps are definitely available for desktop or tablet. These are what we call modern UI apps. So they're a little bit different to the traditional desktop apps, and these are designed to be really touch friendly, but they're easy to use with a keyboard and mouse as well. I might actually fire up Internet Explorer, because I think this is a really good example of the modern UI. So you can see here that the that these new apps are completely full screen. So we don't have any menu bars at the top. We don't have anything down the bottom. It's just the app as itself. What I love about this is that it means that I can focus a little bit more on what I'm doing. So if I'm typing or if I'm reading, I don't have anything else to distract me, and it uses up the full screen. So what I might do is show you another app that I use quite often. News Bento. This is just me when I need to read news feeds, so RSS feeds. I'll use this app. And this is a really nice app. It gives me all my RSS feeds that I track on a daily basis. Here we go. And you can see again it's full screen. The text is nice and big. It's really friendly for people who may have poor eyesight or just need to, I guess, want a cleaner interface. Again, all of these tend to scroll horizontally as well.
So you were saying just now in terms of scroll horizontally, so I think there were a couple of questions, how you move the apps in the store, I think between pages, and the same thing, how do you move between the pages while you're here? So you're just scrolling basically, Ben.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm just using the mouse wheel there to scroll. So instead of scrolling vertically, it just scrolls horizontally. Again, if you think of this from a touch perspective, it's like a finger swipe would do the same sort of thing. But on a desktop with a mouse, it's just a scroll up and down.
Or click thing works the same by using left mouse click to open the apps and stuff.
Correct. So you just click with a left mouse button, and that'll act as your primary click. Let me open up another app for you, and I'll show you. I might just go back to the store again. Again, so the left click will open up an app. So I've just clicked OneNote there. That was with the left click. When I do a right click, it will bring up the additional menu options. So that's a right click, and then left click is just as usual. What I might do, like when we're talking about options, I might actually take you through the charms bar now if there aren't any other questions about that.
Two quick questions. How can you show that menu that pops up to change the apps in between apps?
Sure, I'll take you through that in a little while. I'll come to that. So that's just on the left here. And then, but first I'll take you through the right-hand side.
Just one last question about the App Store. So you don't need to buy a program and install it anymore. You just now purchase them from the App Store?
Yeah, it'll depend. The App Store may not have every single app that you need. So, for example, Photoshop isn't in here. So desktop apps, like traditional desktop apps, don't tend to be in here. So MyOb may not be in here unless they've designed an app specifically for the new user interface. I think that's probably where a little bit of confusion comes in, is that there are two types of apps that desktop users will use. It'll either be a desktop app, which is like a traditional piece of software that you may buy and download and install, or there are these modern UI apps which are available through the Microsoft Store. It will depend on what your use is and what sort of apps you want, but yeah, it'll either be through the Microsoft Store for these new look apps, or you can get your traditional apps through, I guess, by buying them either online and installing them via CD, or downloading them and installing them. So you have a flexibility with this version of Windows. Now, just an aside here, for those of you interested in tablets, if you get a tablet that's running Windows 8 RT, it's a very specific version of Windows that runs on a select range of tablets. Those Windows 8 RT tablets, you can only get apps through the Windows Store. You can't install your own desktop apps. That's just something that is worth noting. However, most of the new tablets that are coming out have proper like full versions of Windows 8 on them. So it's only the Windows 8 RT devices that are limited like that. Okay, so what we're going to look at now is the Charms bar. So I'm going to open up, I might open up, say, Fresh Paint. This is a pretty cool app, and this is just a painting app, basically. So you can, I'm just holding my left mouse button down to draw. Again, really cool on a touch screen, but you can manage this with a keyboard and mouse. The reason why I want to show you this is that I just want to show you the different menu options that you have within these new style apps. So a right click again brings up all these extra menu and options. These may look different depending on what app you have, but all of the modern UI apps, all these new style apps have what they call a Charms bar. So on the right hand side, I've just taken the mouse and brought it up to the top right hand corner, and you can see these extra icons have popped up. Now for touchscreen, all you would do is swipe your finger or your thumb from the right hand of the screen on, and you would pull this menu up. So when these icons come up, I'm just going to move my mouse down to select one of them. And as you can see here, it's highlighted the menu, so it's easier to see, and it's also brought up the clock as well. Now I'm going to start here with search. You can search from within the app. So right now you can see it says Fresh Paint here, so it's going to ask me to search within Fresh Paint. I probably won't find anything because it doesn't really have those sort of items within Fresh Paint. But the great thing is here, instead of having to go, all right, well I didn't find anything in Fresh Paint, maybe I can find something in the Windows Store, Microsoft Store that has something to do with Wales. So I've just clicked Store here, and it's pulled up Wales in the store. Likewise, I could click on any of these apps. I'm just scrolling through with my mouse wheel, scrolling through, let's say I wanted to search Bing for Wales. It will automatically do that for me. So the search bar is really handy and really useful. You can search within your own apps. You can search files. So if I've got any files on my computer that has Wales, references to Wales, it's also there. So the search charm is really quite handy. If I was in the start menu and I just wanted to search, I can just start typing. So I haven't clicked anything there in the start menu. So back at the start menu, I'm just going to start typing on my keyboard, start typing Wales, and it's automatically gone to apps. But then I can choose again. I can choose a store, or I can choose Internet Explorer to do that. Okay, so that's a quick look at the search function. The next one here is the share charm. So when I click the share charm, this will allow me to share content from within these new apps to any other app. So I'm in the Internet Explorer app here. You can see that. And let's say I want to share this search to Facebook. I can do that. I can send it to Twitter, so let's show you that. So I've just clicked Twitter, and what this will do, it will create a link for me to send off to my Twitter followers if I wanted to. And then I can just go back to, once I've done that, I can go back to my app. Same way if I was in Bento, into the news, and I found an article that I thought people may be interested in, I can share that as well. Click share and share the article. That's a really handy feature. In the Charms bar as well, there's a button here for the Start menu, so it's another way to get back to the Start menu if you wanted to. Again, if you think about this from a touch experience, you can just slide the menu out and click Start straight away. For those of you on the desktop, if you're trying to visualize what this looks like, imagine if you're holding your screen on either side and to navigate, that's sort of what it would feel like. But on a smaller screen, that's how the touch experience works. The next charm here is devices. And this is any device that is plugged into your computer that you can output to. So when I say output, it means if I want to, say, send something to a printer, or if I want to send something to a mobile phone or to another, like if I want to stream to a TV, for example, if I've got any videos on the stream there, I can do that, and that'll be available through the devices charm. Obviously, I'm in the start menu here at the moment, so there's nothing really to share to like a printer. I can't print anything from my start menu, so it says nothing to share. And the next charm is the settings charm. This is probably where a lot of people will want to access some of the PC stuff and delve into customizing their Windows 8 experience a little bit more. But this settings bar also acts as a unified settings bar for any app. So this top section here shows me the settings for the app that I'm in, or in this case it's the start menu, so it's showing me the settings for the start menu. So that was in the charms bar. I'll bring that back up and click settings. If I do the same thing in Twitter, for example, so up the top, bring up the charms bar and click settings, you can see at the top here, this top section here, I have some new settings, and these are specific for Twitter. And this will be the case for any of these modern UI apps, that the settings are always going to be in the same place, which is great. Down the bottom here, you've also got the settings that will be specific for your computer. So this is the wireless network that I'm connected to. I've got volume and brightness. I can turn my notifications on or off. I can also access my power settings, so when I want to shut down the computer or restart or whatever. And if I was on a touch screen, this keyboard button would let me choose what keyboard I'm using, whether it's the touch keyboard or maybe a Bluetooth keyboard that's connected to the tablet. The change PC settings, let's jump into here and show you some of the cool features that come with Windows 8. So these PC settings let you manage your users, they let you customize the look and feel. You can see the here, so you can change the different lock screens. So when your computer is locked, this is the screen that you'll see when you go to unlock it or go to log in. You can also choose what apps are visible. So there may be apps that will show some information down here. You can choose which ones you want to include. You can also change the look and feel of your start screen. So let's say I wanted a different color scheme, I can do that, or a different background. And I can also change my account picture if I want to. Okay. The next step here is also looking at users. Within this menu option, you have these sign-in options. And one of the cool new features is the picture password. So instead of having to type your pass phone in like that, or typing in a PIN code, you can actually use a picture to be your password. So you can see the demonstration here. You can do a few different types of gestures, and depending on the types of gestures you do, that becomes like an unlock code. So you can choose whatever picture you want. So I could choose a picture from my selection here. This one's a bit busy, but this will show you an example. So I could do, say, a line from R2D2. So I'm going to use this picture, do a line from R2D2. So that's one gesture, and then I'm going to do a circle around this guy here, and then I'm just going to do a dot up here. And so whenever I go to unlock my computer, what I would do then is do a line, a circle, and a dot, and that would unlock the computer. So that's a cool new feature in terms of user interface. The other ones here are fairly familiar, so these are showing you what apps you can share to, what apps you can search within. I'm just going to jump down here to sync your settings. So I can synchronize the settings on this laptop using my my Microsoft account, and then I'll sign in on my computer at home with my Microsoft account, and I'll see the same sort of personalization, the same passwords and all this sort of thing on all my computers. The great thing about this is if you are working on multiple computers, say the office, maybe you've got, maybe you're down at the library or at home, or you've got maybe a desktop and a laptop at home. This means you get your look and feel across all your computers, and that just makes things a lot easier. Also handy if, let's say, your organisation has a pool of laptops that you may hand out to different staff depending on what they need it for. So there might be one laptop used by 2 or 3 people. When they sign in, they get their own experience, which would match maybe their desktop computer they have as well. Okay, I'm just going to pause there and see if there's any questions about the charms bar.
Not specifically on that. There are a couple of other questions on a range of other things. Actually, there are a few coming up now. Do you need to set up a Microsoft account for any other device you want to sync with?
You'll need to set up one Microsoft account and then log into that on any other device you want to sync with. For those of you who are using Exchange, for example, or any other server-side like management of your computers, you don't have to have a Microsoft account either. But having a Microsoft account for your staff means that they can get a richer experience of Windows 8.
On the sync subject, does on that settings, sync your settings option, it also sync all your apps between devices?
Yeah, it'll sync. It won't automatically install your apps. So as I showed you before in the Windows Store, you'll have to reinstall the apps that you want, but it will list what apps you have installed in the past, and depending on what apps you have, you can also sync your settings. So for example, in my calendar and my mail settings, those are synchronized across my mail and calendar apps. It may not be the case for all apps. It depends on how they're set up, but there is that potential for that synchronization to happen as well.
Someone's just asking if you can show again how to get to that PC settings tab or bar.
Sure, that's just within the charms bar. So top right, taking my mouse up there and then just drag down to settings, or you can go bottom right as well, and you'll get to your settings and then change to PC settings. If you're looking for your control panel, like so, if you want to get into the nitty-gritty of what you're doing, so I'll just go back to the start menu. I'll just do a right click. Click all apps, and then scroll across to control panel, and that gives you your control panel as well. So if you're looking for those, this will give you more options than that PC settings link as well.
How do I get to show both laptop screen and projector screen on Windows 8 settings?
Yep, so that is in your devices, so click devices. There you can see your options for showing multiple screens. If you want to do it the old way and do that from the desktop, you can do it as well. So you would right click on the desktop and go screen resolution, and you would have your other display there, and you can choose which ones you want. So this is within the desktop mode, or as you can see here, you can use the shortcut Windows P. And Windows P, I've just hit Windows P then, and I'm just keep tapping P, and that'll scroll through the different options. I don't have another screen connected at the moment, so I can't show you that in particular. But Windows P will also bring up those screen options.
And when Ben mentioned Windows P, he meant the button that has a Windows logo and the button key P, because I think some people might be confused. What do you mean by Windows P? A few other questions here. Can you resize the tiles on the apps and resize the screen when Metro apps are running?
Okay. What I'll show you here, so I can change these tiles, the actual size of these tiles. I just right click on them, on a touch interface, you'd just do a little pull down and it'll bring up the menu. But on a keyboard and mouse setup, you would right click and change larger, right click and smaller. If you want to change the actual size of the app, there are 3 options at the moment that you can do with these modern UI apps. Okay, so I might pull up, actually before I do that, I'll just jump over here into the left-hand side and show you this. So somebody asked about how do you switch between apps. On a touch screen, on the touch interface, you can just swipe out from the left-hand side and you will see these icons. With keyboard and mouse, it's even better. You just bring your cursor up to the top left here and you can see a preview of your app. So that preview there is the desktop. And I'm just clicking my left mouse button and it's cycling through all the apps that are open. If I had one that I wanted in particular, I would go top left and then just pull my mouse down and it'll show me all the apps, and I can pick one in particular, including the start menu. Likewise, if I wanted to go and show that menu, I can go bottom left where the start menu would be if I was on the desktop. So I'll go to desktop, bottom left, and then pull up, and those apps are there. Okay, so the question was, how do I resize these apps? There are 3 different sizes that these apps currently work at, either full screen or a smaller version. I think it's broken down into fifths. So I think it's 2/5 and 3/5. So I'll show you that. I'll go News Bento. So this is full screen. The next one I'm going to pull open is Twitter. So let's say I want to have 2 apps open at the same time. I can look at 2 apps. Let's say I want to keep an eye on what's happening on my Twitter feed as well as reading the news. I'm just going to grab this. I'm just holding the mouse button down and pulling out. Now I can move this around. I've just put it just off to the side, and you can see that it's pushed the news app slightly to the right there. And I'm just going to let go of the mouse button. And so now I have 2 apps open. Now all the apps that are available through the Windows Store have this functionality where you can have them at 3 different sizes, whether full screen or sort of this size here or the larger size here. If I want to switch which one's which, I can pull this across and make this the bigger app, and I can pull it back in. If I want to get rid of the app completely and make it full screen, I just pull all the way across. So that's how we deal with like multitasking within the modern UI apps. If you want to see this matched with the desktop, I'll pull up the desktop and I'll say Twitter's a good example. Let's say I'm doing work on the desktop and I want to have my Twitter info there as well. So I've got Twitter as a modern UI app, plus I've got Word here as a desktop app. Let's say I wanted to copy and paste across multiple Word documents. I can open up another Word document, and I'm going to pull this over to the right hand side. So for some of us who work a lot with multiple, oops, oh, not connected, that's why. All right, I'll pull up Excel instead. For those of us who are familiar with some of the keyboard shortcuts within Windows, you can press the Windows key and then left and right, and that'll snap your apps to the left or the right. So what I've done here, I've snapped Word here, Excel here, plus I have a modern UI app on the right. So I can do quite a bit of multitasking within Windows 8. On a high resolution screen, even better, you better see more in each of those. And this also works across dual screen as well. So from my day-to-day work, I usually have one of the music apps in the modern UI app on one of my screens, plus maybe an internet browser, and then on my main screen I'll have a couple of apps like this as well. So.
Having a few questions about that kind of multitasking on Windows 8. So just firstly, when you drag those apps to have to show it 2 different ones, it will be a similar method of dragging a different app to a second screen, for example.
Yeah, it feels very similar to that. So yeah, so before you would normally drag and then maybe move that to another screen. Here you're just dragging it into position. This drag movement as well is just going to the top of the app and clicking with my left mouse button and then pulling that around. If this was a touchscreen device, of course, you just go to the top and drag down. This is also the mechanism that you would use to close apps as well. So you just, as you see, there's no sort of like X or minimize button on any of these modern UI apps. To close it, you just grab it and drag it down, and then it's closed. Of course, if you don't want to close it, you don't have to. It'll just sit here and sit here in standby, waiting for you to open up again. So you can have quite a few apps open at once.
So we can see that we can have multiple apps open on one screen, but what if, for example, we have two different Excel spreadsheets or Word documents that we want to see side by side? Is that possible?
Yes, you can do that, and that would be within desktop mode. Simply because it's a desktop app. So I've got one Word document here. So I'm going to use. Traditionally, you would just resize it like this and do whatever you want, and then you can open up a new Word document, and you can do side by side. Now, as I was saying before, if you press the Windows key and then left, that'll snap that one to the left, and then Windows key and then the right. You can see it snapped that one to the right and made sure that I can see both. I use that function quite a bit, and so I can do editing and copy and pasting here, however you want to do that. That's not a problem.
You showed before the app will resize if you bring in another app to be on the same screen, but how can you resize an app from full screen just by itself?
Right, so I think the question there is, are there options to resize these in the same way that you could, say, Microsoft Word? So the way that I'm dragging this around like that resizes it. With the modern UI apps, you don't have that flexibility of resizing them. Unfortunately, they're not within that capacity. You've only really got those 3 different sizes that you can use with the newer versions.
Great. Do you have anything else you would like to demo, Ben? We have a few more questions, but I'm happy to leave it at the end if you do have a few more things to show.
No, that's it at the moment. As I was saying, from a day-to-day experience, I actually use a number of, say, desktop apps and modern UI apps together. So I use some of the Adobe products which don't have modern UI apps, and I use, say, Word and Excel and PowerPoint, which are all desktop apps. But the common modern UI apps that I'll use, I have a Pomodoro timer to keep me focused. I use OneNote quite a bit. I really love the OneNote app here. There's a desktop version, but the touch version is really quite clever as well. So I can set up a to-do list. You can see here I can just use these tick boxes as a daily to-do list. So I'll have that open, or I'll use my music app to the radio or listen to any other music. I can do that through the modern UI app. So most of the time I'll use these apps for media or for notifications, and then I'll use my desktop apps for productivity.
So you mentioned before you can resize the UI app to 3 different sizes. How do you do that, apart from dragging different screens?
Yeah, right. So I'll open up. We'll go back to News Bento. It's a good example. So I've opened up this as an app, and when you first open up apps, they will be full screen. To resize them, you just grab the app. So at the top, your little hand will come up. I'll hold down the mouse key, and you can see it's zoomed out, and I can drag that either to the right here, and it'll make a small version. And then if I want to make that bigger, I'll just drag this across. Now, the reason why it went full screen there is because I don't have another app open. So let's bring up Twitter again. Okay, so I'll drag this across, make it smaller. Oops. Use Bento. It's got this smaller version and then the larger version, and then I can switch depending on which size that is. Okay, so this really works when you want to work with two apps. If you've got an app already open, you would just drag. So I've come up to the top left here. I'll just drag that in as well. I can drag that in and switch that with this app, or switch it with this app. So if I want to, I want Bing to be in a large app, just there. Likewise, if I want to put OneNote in this small app, I can just leave it there, and that switches to OneNote. If I want to change, if you were doing an app switch, like if you're opening up a new app, go from the start menu. So for example, I want to open up Sketch. It'll automatically appear in the larger section here.
There's a few questions pending. Originally, Windows had simple card games automatically installed. They don't seem to be there now.
Yeah, the simple card games. Actually, this is like a whole new thing. I could probably talk about the games on here for quite a while. It's actually quite cool. So the games aren't in, the simple card games are no longer installed with Windows 8. However, there are versions of those simple card games which they've created. So there's a new version of Solitaire and there's a new version of Minesweeper. And these are modern UI apps now. So these are, if you have an Xbox account, for example, you can track your achievements, but they've revamped all of these to be, you can do adventures, you can get points, you can do different versions. So this is the old school Solitaire, but given a little bit of a boost. So you can see here it's got achievements. So they're no longer as simple as they used to be. I have to be honest, Minesweeper is pretty cool now. You can do like adventures with Minesweeper. Anyway, yeah, that's if that's if you want a bit of downtime. Again, you can bring this over onto the right-hand side, and you could have, let's pretend you're doing, say, like a bit of internet browsing, and you wanted to play a bit of Free Cell. You can do that in the sidebar as well. So there we go. So that's your simple games, but you'd have to access them through the store though. So if you go to the store and then go to games, you'll find them in here. They tend to be in the top releases as well. So if you go to top free games, you'll find Minesweeper and Solitaire.
Okay, back to some other actual user settings. How do you shut the computer down at the end of the day, and can you schedule Windows shutdown automatically?
To be honest, I'd have to look into the scheduled shutdown. That may be something that you would have to do within from the desktop, so from your control panel. To shut this down, say from the modern UI, you can do the old Control-Alt-Delete and get to your power settings down the bottom right-hand corner here. Or you can go bottom right-hand corner, settings, power down. Or if you're on a laptop, you can just hit the actual physical power button, or if you're on a desktop, you hit the physical power button, and you can choose from your control panel, you can change what that does, whether it forces it to sleep or to shut down or hibernate if you're on a laptop. So that's how you would do it. I know that's been a bit of a funny one. I think a lot of people were looking for that because it was right here in the start menu previously. But again, it's just in the charms bar in the settings now.
How do you access additional tabs within Internet Explorer and the favorites bar?
Yep, I can show you how to do that. So Internet Explorer, again, full screen. If you wanted, you can switch this to desktop mode as well. You can open up Internet Explorer in the desktop, and it'll be a lot more familiar if you wanted to. So I'll show you the desktop version quickly. That's a horrible website example, by the way. Sorry about that. So here we go. This is the desktop version with your tabs. and your favorites. So that's quite familiar. But if we wanted to do this from the modern UI version, a right click will bring up your different tabs. So I can add a new tab. That right click also, if you go down the bottom here, so I've just clicked in the menu bar, that brings up your frequent and your favorites as well. So that's how you access additional tabs. Again, it looks really nice and clean. Like if you're doing a lot of reading, I quite like the fact that it's what they call a Chromeless browser. Like there's no menus and there's no additional bars. And to access those, you just right-click. If you're on a touch device, you would just swipe up or swipe down from the bottom or the top of the screen, and you would get those menu options there. So again, just a right-click brings up the URL, the address bar, plus your tabs. And you just click down here, and then you've got your favorites. Another cool thing you can do from here is I can pin this site to the Start menu. So now if I go back to the Start menu, and I pinned it, I can see now I've got this new icon, which loads up Internet Explorer and loads up the web page automatically. So it means you can have your internet shortcuts directly from the Start menu. So for those of you who may be delving into, say, cloud-based or browser-based tools like MailChimp or Hootsuite or even, say, Outlook.com or Gmail, you can create those as sort of pseudo apps. You just create a shortcut to them and they'll pop up in Internet Explorer.
Just to let everyone know that we have obviously reached the end time of the webinar. We will continue with the questions that have been asked. If you do have to go, don't worry, the recording will be made available to you after, so you can listen to the rest of the webinar. But we will stay back for a few more minutes to answer some of the last questions that we have. We might have addressed this earlier on in a slightly different way, but can you sync Windows documents from one computer to another, and how do you do that?
Yeah, if you want to do that, you would, Microsoft's solution is through SkyDrive. Now, if you want to do this from a personal account, you can do your SkyDrive synchronization, and this is what I do. I actually synchronize all my, I save all my documents now to SkyDrive and access them all through at home or at work. If you're using SharePoint, you can use SkyDrive Pro, which integrates with SharePoint, to do the same thing. So I'll show you what I mean. So I go File, and if I go Open, I go Ben Teoh SkyDrive, and this is where all my documents are. So I do some of my work stuff and my personal things through here, and I would save these documents, and that would then upload them automatically to SkyDrive. And then when I'm at home, I can do the same thing. Like I would then open up those documents through SkyDrive. So that's how you're synchronizing your documents. And with SkyDrive, you can synchronize, you can choose what folders you want to synchronize as well. So I can either tell my computer to download a copy of all those files onto my computer itself and then edit them, and then when I save them, it synchronizes it back up to SkyDrive. Or I can access my SkyDrive, like my cloud storage, directly from Word itself. I don't have to save a local copy, or I don't have to save a copy onto my computer. I can just edit it from SkyDrive itself. There are other online storage solutions that you may want to use as well, and there are ways to get them to work with Word, but at the moment Microsoft is really pushing for their SkyDrive inclusion. And you do get free storage with SkyDrive as well when you set up your Microsoft account. I think it's about 7 gigs free to start with, which is quite a lot, especially if you're only dealing with like Word documents and PowerPoint presentations and Excel spreadsheets and things like that.
So there was just a question about cost for SkyDrive, but obviously when you set up Microsoft account, as Ben mentioned, you do get some free storage to begin with, and if you do want to upgrade, then obviously there's a cost involved. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So there you can subscribe and pay for a little bit extra. I think it works out to be $1 per gig per year. So I can, and that works out quite cheaply, which is compared to other services. So the big ones are like Google Drive and Dropbox, but SkyDrive does have various options for synchronizing. So again, I personally use SkyDrive myself, but I also have a Dropbox account which I store different things to. That came with my phone, for example. I've got some free storage there, but SkyDrive I use for my personal backup for cloud storage.
Can you create an app on the start page for the shutdown function?
I am, sorry, Christine just cut out there. It was, can you create an app on the start screen for the shutdown function? Why don't we have an investigation? We can have a look through. All right, so I've just gone into the store, and I'm going to do open up the Charms menu and click search and look for shutdown. All right, so it doesn't look like there's a shutdown function. You see where it says desktop apps? These will all be apps like Word and things that would run on your desktop, not within the modern UI interface. Doesn't look like there's anything there. To be honest, I don't know, quite possibly, but that would depend on whether Windows can allow that. As I was saying, you can change the functionality of your computer. So if you have a desktop, you might be able to create like a shortcut on your keyboard. There might be something like that you can use to shut down if you want a simpler way to shut things down. If you're on a laptop, you can change the behavior of your laptop. So when you, for example, if you close you can tell it to shut down that way, or if you press the button, you can tell it to shut down. So if you're looking for an easy way to shut down, but again, you can also log out and it will shut down, or you can tell the computer just to shut down, within half an hour of no activity. So you can automate it that way, and you can just tell your staff just to log out and then just leave it, and then it'll go to sleep or shut down by itself.
So when you shut down, it actually shuts down and not hibernate, and it saves the previous state?
Yeah, that'll depend on what you tell it to do. So I've gone into settings here. I can do power, so I can go shut down or sleep. When I was talking about changing the behavior of closing your screen, what you would have to do here, if you're on a laptop, so if you're laptop users, you should have this little power icon in the bottom right-hand corner. This is so I've opened up the desktop. You can go more power options. So this is the same for, say, Windows 7, or for, I think this was even available in Windows XP. You can choose what closing the lid does. So for example, my settings, when I press the power button, it doesn't do anything. When it's on battery, when it's plugged in, if I press the power button, it will sleep. I could change this again to hibernate or to sleep. So you can change the behavior of your power buttons. You can also change the behavior here with the lid. So when I have my laptop plugged in and I close my lid, it does nothing, because most of the time when I have it plugged in, I have the laptop plugged into a couple of other screens, and so I'll close the laptop just to put it out of the way, so I don't want it to actually do anything. But when I'm on battery, when I close the laptop, it'll tell it to sleep or to shut down. I can change that functionality. So that'll depend on what settings you want to do there.
Back to settings, how can I change the Windows 8 screen back to the familiar Windows 7 screen on startup? Because I think it automatically goes to the start function, doesn't it?
Correct. So if you want to do that, you may have to search for other apps. I think they may be bringing that out in the next version of Windows. There's a lot of discussion about the next version of this, which we should be able to see previews of in the next few months, and there may be an option to go straight to the desktop. I would, if you're concerned about your users being a bit unfamiliar with the start screen, what I would do is actually bring all your common apps and put them all in this front section here. So I could actually, I'm going to just do this quickly for you. Alright, so now what would happen is, when I first start my computer up, I have a button here to go to the desktop or I've just got links that will go directly to the commonly used programs that I would access. So most of the time I want to fire up Word and start doing some edits, go into a program straight away. You turn the computer on to going to a program rather than a file. You can also create file shortcuts here. It's a little bit trickier, but you can do that as well. But again, if you want to go straight to your desktop, unfortunately in this version of Windows 8 you can't do that, but you can make it so it's only one click away. So you can click on your desktop apps, or you can go click straight to the desktop, and that'll take you to the desktop as well.
Just one last question here. Can you print from apps, i.e. Internet Explorer, just like normal?
Yeah, I'll fire up Internet Explorer. You can still print if you want to from here. So in this case, it would be under Devices, and then I'd choose where I want to print. Of course, normally there would be, you don't have those like that right click, because that brings up this now. So it would be under Devices, or if you want to share it, you can click to share as well. Share, because there's no print button. But again, if you're using this from a desktop, and you put up Internet Explorer in the desktop mode, it has those familiar icons as well.
Alright, well, that's the last question that we had. Thank you very much for staying back. For those of you who are still here, thank you for everyone for participating and sending through your questions. And thanks to Ben for taking us through the Windows 8 tour. I hope that's been very clear for you and it has helped you give some idea on what's new with Windows 8, how you can navigate your way around, the different apps, the different user interface. And if you have any other questions, please send us an email, but otherwise I will send through the link to the recording to you after this session. Thank you and have a good afternoon, everyone. Bye.